please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
A rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
They're getting the dirt bags off these trees.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's Thorn, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later gotta cut you down, sooner or later gotta cut you down. Go and tell that long-tongued liar, go and tell that midnight rider, tell the rambler, the gambler, the backbiter, tell him that God's gonna cut him down, tell him that God's gonna cut him down. Well, my goodness gracious, let me tell you the news. My head's been wet with the midnight dew. I've been down on bended knee, talking to the man from Galilee. He spoke to me in a voice so sweet, I thought I heard a shuffle of angels' feet. He called my name and my heart stood still when he said, John, go do my will. Go tell that long-tongued liar, go and tell that midnight rider, tell the rambler, the gambler, the backbiter, tell him that God's gonna cut him down, tell him that God's gonna cut him down. You can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later gotta cut you down, sooner or later gotta cut you down. Well, you may throw your rock and hide your hand, working in the dark against your fellow man, but as sure as God made black and white, what's done in the dark will be brought to the light. You can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later gotta cut you down, sooner or later gotta cut you down. Go tell that long-tongued liar, go and tell that midnight rider, tell the rambler, the gambler, the backbiter, tell him that God's gonna cut you down, tell him that God's gonna cut you down, tell him that God's gonna cut you down.
Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're in the world. My name is Josh, and welcome to the Repill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. I hope everybody is doing well out there. Having some technical difficulties. I can't get Rumble Studio to actually go live, which is kind of interesting. So trying to get this to operate. So just give me a minute here. So I don't know what's going on, but Rumble does not want to work tonight. But let me do this. Let me do this. I'm going to go here like this. Gotta go edit. I apologize for the delay. I had my son's wrestling match tonight. And I know you guys all understand on that one. And so let me see here. I don't know why this is not going. This is so odd. So, but I see everybody on YouTube and Facebook coming on in, and X over there. It's funny because all you do is you just hit go live and it goes live. And right now it's not going live. The buttons are dead. I've already basically canceled out one stream and started another, and it's not working. I might have to just bypass Rumble Studio altogether, which I don't want to do. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to figure out a technical difficulty, and we might have to re-intro this just because, because it says it's streaming right here. This is odd. 1 second. Let me go into here. Do this. I wonder if that's why. Well, we're about to find out, aren't we? Because it's got me live in Rumble Studio, but I'm not live. Yeah, it's not working. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to close that room, kill that stream. We're going to go over here, and we're going to go this way, turn this guy off, and then what I'm going to do is I think I can fix this pretty easy. Go into here like this. Yep, save that. Hold on, bear with me here. Bear with me. Kill that guy. Put this up here. Boom. And this should prompt it on Rumble. I'm hoping. So we'll see here in a second. All right. It looks like I'm now going to be on Rumble. Okay. Hey, I'm on Rumble. Okay. I think that worked. Just the link that everybody had on Rumble is not going to work. Anyways, what is going on here? I'm going to kill that guy. Yep. Delete that. Let me see if this is working now. All right. We are live on Rumble. Okay. So Rumble, let me go in here and hopefully I can find everybody that was on Rumble that was waiting and like, hey, what the hell is the show? Because there's a bunch of people in the chat. Let me see if they're still in here. Nope, that is closed out. Well, hopefully they find the show. Sometimes you have technical difficulties. So thanks for bearing with me. And we're about to get rocking and rolling here with the show. And there's a lot of things to talk about, obviously. So not much news for the day, but there is a lot of things that we can see happening in the backdrop. And we're going to talk about that. And let me just set that up. Go like that. Refresh this guy. And let me see if we got people joining in the Rumble yet. Nobody joining in the Rumble yet. But let me blast this out real quick. I want to go here. Sorry, guys. Just bear with me. We're almost there. There we go. Do that. Go like this. I got nobody watching me on Rumble. I wonder if it's under profile. Give me a second. I wonder if that's what it is. Do this. Give me 1 second. I'm still technical difficulties. No, it's actually going to be under here, isn't it? Man, I hate when things like this happen, but it's all part of everything that goes on because, well, we do all this by ourselves here. Okay, let me see this. All right. Well, I don't know if Rumble's just having problems or whatnot. I got nobody in the chat on the Rumble side. Yeah, everybody's saying Rumble kept kicking them off, so now they're over in here. Okay, well, Rumble should be back up. You just have to go back to the Rumble page, and you should be able to see it over there. Having massive technical difficulties with it for some reason. Don't know why, but hopefully we can get it resolved, and people on Rumble should be able to jump in. And I'm looking right here. 0 views, dude. That is, I don't know if it's a problem with Rumble or what. But anyways, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. Welcome to the Red Pill Project Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. Late start to the day today. That late start is my son's wrestling match. They had this regional state qualifiers. They came in second place, so they move on this Saturday, the state, which is pretty cool. Has video but no sound. They're saying Rumble has video but no sound. Let me see here. Nope, I got sound on Rumble. But yeah, if you go to Rumble right now, it just says, 75 likes. Okay, so there are people watching. I can't see any of the chat or anything, which is weird. But I'm glad people are there and are able to see it and are watching on Rumble. And let me go into here. I want to pull up the chat, see if I can pull it up there and see if I can even on my PC. It's not pulling anything up, but over here it is. Okay. Anyways, let's get rocking and rolling. We're about 5-10 minutes behind just because of that. To start out, this is really interesting. The Department of Labor has been posting some keywords: patriots in control, trust the plan, hold the line, almost like we're getting hints that something is about to happen. Now, one of the things is that a week ago, they posted patriots in control. The picture, if you remember, was actually from a Q post of the Trump picture that was in the backdrop. Today, they posted another one. Patriots in control. They said it's Monday. Patriots are in control. Let's get to work. Now, there's no specific timestamp that goes with this, but it reminds me of the old school kind of war propaganda that happened during World War I and World War II, where you had all the various different videos that drew out patriotism. And one of the reasons I think that is happening in that context is because of the things that are about to happen, the things we're about to see and witness. You truly have to understand the world of Q and what we've talked about over the last 5 to 6 years to really get a grasp on what is happening in the world and why Donald Trump is making the certain choices and decisions that he's making. Now, one of the important parts about that, and I want to reiterate this, if you look at fake MAGA, if you look at the black pillars, if you look at everybody out there that are going against Trump, some of them are paid opposition. Some of them are shills. Some of them are doing it because they were infiltrators into their movement. But I think the majority of the people out there, they're just confused. They don't understand what is happening on the global domain. They don't understand what Trump is doing pertaining to his decision-making process. Why is he focused on a national security strategy that is mimicking the Monroe Doctrine? Why is Donald Trump going out there and removing Maduro from leadership? Why is he going to Davos next week? Why is he, basically telling NATO to F off and telling Europe we don't need you? And I think that this is a lot of drawback from the last 5 years. See, we think that Donald Trump is going to get in the office. He's going to hit the ground running, and it's going to be like, let's take down the deep state. And people have an idea in their mind of what that is, of, hey, we're going to go take down the deep state. Let's go do it. And you think that that's going to be arrest. But it's not. You have to understand that there is a mass infrastructure beyond the deep state. The deep state, what I would call the deep state bureaucracy within the government of the United States of America, the swamp, if you want to look at it like that, that has pretty much been drained by the Trump administration. Now, holding them accountable is a different thing, but the accountability is if Donald Trump went out there 2025 January and started arresting deep state actors, well, everything was still in place, the whole globalist infrastructure, because you got to remember there's hierarchies here. The deep state weren't working alone. They weren't just like hijacking the United States of America to draw it into communism to join the New World Order because that was their motivation. They were doing it because there was people above them funding them, giving them directions and commands, and there's people above them. And how does that work? Well, it works through various different hierarchies of control. And so Trump understands this. And so the last year was setting the stage to go after these various hierarchies of control. A lot of this points back to the globalist bankers, to the central banking cartels that operate out of London and out of Europe. It goes back to the infrastructure that's developed over the last decade in the European Union, that's infiltrated and taken over much of NATO, that is basically the UN. It goes into what has built up and created the monstrosity that we know of as China today. You got to remember, people in the regular world, normies, like to think that China's just highly advanced. Look at the benefits of communism. Look what communism did. You throw some money into the system and bam, you get massive manufacturing. You got to understand that was the globalists who did that. Modern day China is a direct reflection of the globalists, of how the globalists built it up. You know, it was NAFTA and GATT in the 1990s under Bill Clinton that shipped jobs and manufacturing overseas to China. And what happened is you had multi-billionaire investors and financiers and banks around the world, the same central banks, IMF, World Bank, so forth, flow into China with billions upon billions of dollars building out the infrastructure so that China could be the leading country in the world per GDP of manufacturing and processing and of exports. Well, why did they do that? Because they had a plan. It goes back to the same idea what this plan was. Bill Clinton was taking orders from globalists at this time. China was built up for today, specifically to be the leading hegemon in the planet, to lead the New World Order. That government that they have is a direct mirror of what they wanted to implement globally. So you have China that's built up, but then you're like, well, what about militarily? They can't just catch up. Well, that was SAP programs. That was the purpose of the Q program in the initial get-go. Somebody was stealing special access programs, high-level classified technology that the U.S. military is developing, high-level nuclear technology. I wonder where China got their nuclear technology. Fucking Bill Clinton gave it to them. China's military progression over the last 20 years is a direct result of 3 U.S. presidents: Bill Clinton, George Bush, and Barack Obama. Hillary Clinton was directly involved. Jake Sullivan, giving her emails from special access programs that were then sent to a proxy email address that was IP'd in China. China would go back, take the professors over to China, learn their secrets, learn their information and their research, and then reverse engineer it and build it out for their own military. So when we start to think that Donald Trump needs to go out there and start arresting the deep state, the question is where does he start? This thing is, if you went out there and you arrested Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, John Clapper and Brennan, okay, great. That same hierarchy above them will now put new people in place and do it all over again. It doesn't defeat the enemy. It only delays them slightly. And so when we begin to look at the bigger picture, and I think that this is what most normies, and even like, I will, and here's the thing, I'll put this out there. I don't know if he ever catches this, or if anybody wants to clip this and throw this to him, Owen Schroyer. I see Owen Schroyer is like, what is the Trump administration doing posting the Q stuff? And Owen, you know, I've seen you trying to blackpill people out there about a lot of this stuff, but I don't think that people like you understand what is happening from this larger perspective. There are hierarchies of how all of this operates. Globalism just isn't something that was centered within the United States deep state. Globalism is not something that is, you know, naturally occurring, that was just flowing through, you know, various different governments of the world or through the United Nations. This was a doctrine of control and manipulation. This was and was being organized well over 100 years ago, first driving out of the Fabian Society. You know, they tried it within Europe, and the Nazis rose up and they're like, hey, we don't want any of that fascist shit. So when we start to look at what Donald Trump's doing, is he might not be doing what you want him to do. He might not be doing what you expect him to do, but damn well understand he's doing what needs to be done. Like, well, but, you know, he's too in with Israel. Too in with Israel. Donald Trump has Israel wrapped around his little finger. People are like, well, you know, Israel controls Donald Trump. Bullshit. What we've seen from Israel is nothing more than capitulation from Donald Trump. Donald Trump has surrounded Israel with U.S. weapons. He's giving weapons to enemies of Israel. No U.S. president does that if they're like, oh, you know, Israel controls me. If Israel controlled Donald Trump, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, all of these other countries would not be getting defense cooperation agreements. It would not be getting new fighter jets. They wouldn't be getting F-35s or any of this shit. Donald Trump controls Israel. He understands his power and authority that can be asserted over that. Well, you know, Donald Trump is, you know, fighting Hezbollah and Hamas for Israel. No, it's the other way around. See, if you want to bring stability and peace into the Middle East, you have to start dismantling all of the various different terrorist organizations that operate there. And that starts with the money inflow, and then that starts with the leadership. Benjamin Netanyahu 3 months ago came out and said that, you know, when we were doing the Hezbollah operation, we coordinated directly with President Trump out of Mar-a-Lago. President Trump wasn't even president at that time. How is that possible? Because it was Donald Trump who gave the green light to go ahead to do it. Why? Because he understood the greater stability that it's going to bring about for the Middle East. And this is exactly the same time that I started talking about that they are formulating a regime change directly in Iran. And Hezbollah was one of the key parts of this, Hamas being the second, and the Houthis being the third. And this weakens the IRGC. And there's a lot of other parts to this puzzle that are going on. We're going to talk about that later in the show. But I want people to realize that the most powerful man in the world is not Vladimir Putin. It's not Elon Musk. It's not Benjamin Netanyahu. It is Donald J. Trump. And you can see this being asserted day in and day out since the beginning of this year, 2026. This man is absolutely on fire this year. He went into 2026 with an absolute vengeance. And he is taking down this corrupt infrastructure. But see, the thing is we're witnessing it day by day. We don't get to see, you know, the totality of all this, of all of this action that's going into it. You will. We'll look back and go, holy shit, that was amazing. Yeah, Trumble on Rumble. It looks like Rumble is good now. It doesn't look like we're having any more problems, which is good. So another few things. So to give you hints and indications of what's going on. Last week, we talked about comms that were coming up. The January 12th, 13th, and 14th. Very important dates when we start to look at what the Trump administration was doing. Today, what did we find? A grand jury has been impaneled in the Southern District of Florida on January 12th, 2026. Now, Florida grand jury begins today courthouse is Eileen Cannon. Remember, you had John Brennan going out there hearing about, hey, I hear that his lawyer sent out the letter saying, hey, I hear a grand jury is being impaneled. Please do not let Judge Eileen Cannon be in there. But sure enough, it's Judge Eileen Cannon. And last month, John Brennan, lawyer, wrote the same judge and confirmed Brennan is the target of grand jury investigation in the 2017 intelligence community assessment about Russian activities during the 2016 election. In the same letter, Brennan's lawyer accused the Trump Justice Department of venue shopping with a preference of Judge Cannon's courtroom. This is huge. Now, you got to remember, Judge Cannon also was the one over top of the Mar-a-Lago as well as the second Trump assassination. She's been read into classified information due to the second Trump assassination attempt as well as the Mar-a-Lago documents. Now, what was the primary Mar-a-Lago document that the FBI was after? I've talked about this since the moment Mar-a-Lago all happened. I even talked about it before, saying, watch out. Because remember, Donald Trump on September 20th, I think it's September 12th, 2020, December 20th, 2020. He put a tweet on Twitter stating, I now hereby declassify all information pertaining to Crossfire Hurricane, Crossfire Razor, and the Hillary Clinton email investigation. He did it twice, the same post, 3 months apart, 2 different times. Declassified it. It went for redactions, came back on January 17th, known as the Crossfire Hurricane binder. He left office on the 20th. And what happened? Gina Haspel, Ava, forgetting her name. The new National Security Advisor, National Security Director comes in, Avril Lavigne or whatever her name is, not Avril Lavigne, comes in and reclassifies parts of that document, that binder, which meant that Donald Trump left with a redacted version from his DOJ of the Crossfire Hurricane binder, takes it to Mar-a-Lago, and now the Biden administration comes in, their national security, director of national intelligence comes in, reclassifies parts of that binder, which means that Donald Trump is in possession of classified information. And that's how they got him on Mar-a-Lago. So Judge Eileen Cannon would be privy to that information. So now she is the one going to be overseeing the 2016 intelligence 2017 intelligence community assessment, which we saw declassification of information come out earlier last year or the middle of 2025. That evidence came out from a whistleblower who came out and basically exposed it all, that there was no evidence to move on this. There was no evidence whatsoever to base those assumptions that Russia had anything to do with the 2016 election, that it appeared that CrowdStrike, the DNC company, was the actual culprit in the matter. Then you go into other declassified documents that DNI Tulsi Gabbard released in 2025 that show a criminal conspiracy organizing between the DNC, the Hillary Clinton campaign, the Barack Obama administration, and George Soros's Open Society that pinpoint exactly at the certain time frames that they were going to frame Donald Trump with Russian propaganda. They were going to utilize DNC assets like Threat Connect and CrowdStrike to produce the media to do this. They were going to organize it through the mainstream media and news, and the Barack Obama administration was going to open investigations, FISA warrants, and basically carry this out to the end to take down Donald Trump. Now, you put all of that together, and what you have is an ongoing criminal conspiracy because it never really ended. So what are they investigating in Jason Redding Kionis's district as U.S. attorney in the Southern District of Florida? They are investigating the 2016 witch hunt on Donald Trump, on Michael Flynn, on all of the Trump allies, Crossfire Hurricane, Crossfire Razor, and everything under the sun. This is huge. And that starts today. Now, the 13th and the 14th we just talked about. Why are those dates important? The 13th and the 14th are important for, one, but 2 reasons. They are the deadlines for Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, respectively, to testify in Congress about Jeffrey Epstein. Now, what's interesting about that is 1:13 and 1:14. 14. That's 11-3 and 11-4. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton. Now, if you go to the two posts that mention 11-3 and 11-4, they mention John Podesta and Hooman Abedin. Now, what's interesting is John Podesta was the chief of staff of Bill Clinton, and Hooman Abedin was the chief of staff of Hillary Clinton. Just saying, like, these time frames seem to kind of add up in a serendipitous format. Isn't it interesting? Now, what does that mean? It means that after tomorrow, Wednesday, Congress can send a criminal referral to the DOJ for Hillary Clinton. It means Thursday, Congress can send a criminal referral to the DOJ for Bill Clinton. In other words, they can have them arrested for contempt of Congress. They've been willfully subpoenaed. They did not show up. Now criminal referrals come. So all of this is happening right now. So the other day, the Department of Labor posted, "Hold the line, Patriots, hold the line." And I didn't break this one down, but Alpha did. Oh, I thought I was showing it. There we are. Hold the line, Patriots, hold the line. But Alpha went ahead and broke this down. Hold the line, riders. Justice is coming. What is the first Delta for tomorrow? Boom, boom, boom. What is coming this week? What's on Monday? What is on the 14th and 15th? So everything that we were just talking about. Now, I actually did a breakdown last week, if you remember this, of the 527 timestamp. The previous one before the riders, the Trust the Plan one, which was 527. And what does that go to? That goes to Monday. Well, today was Monday and nothing really happened. But you never tell your enemy when you're going to strike. You always confuse them with information. We have to understand that the comms that we're witnessing are not only for us, right? That the comms that we're witnessing, we're going back out there and putting on social media, and we're talking about, like, oh my God, Monday. Well, that means that the deep state woke up today going, oh shit, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And nothing happened. That's the level of disinformation that you're dealing with. And that's meant to happen. This is what a lot of us are for in the context of this operation. We are meant to give them false hope, or we're meant to put information in the deep state's hands. So we go like, okay, well, we got this day, and this day, and they said something's going to happen. So let's get prepared. Let's expend our ammunition. It doesn't happen. So you never tell your enemy when you are going to strike. Now, there was an interesting video posted by the White House on their TikTok account this last weekend. And if it has any indication to do with Bill and Hillary Clinton and all of this other stuff we're talking about, maybe. But I want you to watch this video. I'm going to blow it up because it's pretty small on the screen. But I want you to watch towards the end. Okay. Now, why is that interesting? It says eat real food. Well, what's interesting here is that there's a cake, but there's 2 hot dogs, and there's a pizza, and they get obliterated. A pizza and 2 hot dogs? Is there something named pizza, referred to as pizza and hot dogs, that is not real food? Oh, yeah. You got that message. That's pretty interesting. I think that's really interesting. This weekend, President Donald Trump came out and demanded the passage of the Save America Act. What is that? It's requiring citizen for all elections nationwide and the prompting of voter ID. This is huge. Now, this comes in with obviously Venezuela being dismantled at this course in time. And, you know, when people say that Venezuela was a regime change. It actually wasn't, because he didn't overthrow the regime of Venezuela. He went out there, he served a warrant on the dictator, which was wanted by the FBI, brought him into the justice, and then allowed the current administration to take over. Not a regime change. Delcy Rodriguez is an elected official, quote unquote, in Venezuela. But Donald Trump this last weekend did declare himself the interim president of Venezuela, if that tells you who's really in control over there. So Donald Trump this last weekend as well posted, Cuba lived for many years on large amounts of oil and money from Venezuela. Now, this is eerily reminiscent. If you remember listening to the Lara Logan interview with the former CIA guys and Flynn and Patrick Byrne and what they were talking about, listen to what Trump is saying, because he is reiterating what they were all talking about. Cuba lived for many years on large amounts of oil and money from Venezuela. In return, Cuba provided security services for the last two Venezuelan dictators, but not anymore. Most of those Cubans are dead from last week's USA attack, and Venezuela doesn't need protection anymore from the thugs and extortionists who held them hostage for so many years. What does that tell you right there? That Cuba had their security services on the team of Chavez and Maduro because they were their handlers. As if they stepped out of line, they would be put to death. This is what he says. They don't need protection anymore from thugs and extortionists who held them hostage for so many years. Venezuela now has the United States of America, the most powerful military in the world by far. To protect them and protect them, we will. There will be no more oil or money going to Cuba. Zero. I strongly suggest they make a deal before it is too late. And I love how he does this, because he's turning the global field of enemies into deals. Hey, you're an enemy of me. You undermined us. You tried to kill our country. Let's make a deal. And Donald Trump's idea of a deal isn't like, hey, you're going to get 50% and I'm going to get 50%. No. Donald Trump's idea of a deal is, you're going to capitulate completely to me. I'm going to control your country. I'm going to control your resources. Those bad guys, they're going to jail. And now you're under our power. That's really what's happening right now. Why? Because that's the Don Roe doctrine, right? The Don Roe doctrine. They're calling it the Donald Trump Don Roe doctrine. But I'd like to call it the Trump world order, or the Monroe Doctrine revisited, because that's what we're watching right now, is that the hostile nations in the Western Hemisphere towards the United States of America, Donald Trump is not going to go in and liberate. He's going to conquer. And this is what we are seeing right now. And then other hostile nations like Iran. And why is Iran a hostile nation? Iran's a hostile nation because of their partnerships, of who they supply resources to. You got to think bigger. You got to think 5-10 years down the road. You got to stop thinking right now in just deep state and just globalism. We got to think about the monstrosity. I can't speak tonight. You got to think about the monster that they've created, the globalists in China. China is fueled by cheap oil under sanctions. Russia, Venezuela, Iran. Right now, Venezuela is knocked off of that. Russia still going strong. Iran up next. Trump today, a 25% tariff on any country doing business with Iran. Trump has just announced a sweeping economic measure targeting any country maintaining trade ties with Iran. Effective immediately, any country doing business with the Islamic Republic of Iran will pay a tariff of 25% on any and all business being done with the United States of America. This order is final and conclusive. Thank you for your attention on this matter. Why is this important? Because there's only one country that matters in all of that. It's China. In other words, Donald Trump just announced a 25% increase in the tariffs amount on China. Expect China to push back. Now, China doesn't necessarily go out there with trade agreements with Iran, because everything is done under Western sanctions, so it's illegally done. But Trump is going to enforce this to the top level that he can. So expect China to respond back. Now, why is that so important? When you start to look at the global perspective, and if there's people out there that are new to the show watching for the first time, one thing that we do here is we don't just kind of focus on one generalization. We look at the whole enchilada, right? And when we look at the actions of Donald Trump, we have to look much broader than just kind of Donald Trump doesn't like the Ayatollah because he's a dictator and he funds terrorism, so we're going to take him out. Because that's basically Lindsey Graham's perspective. You got other people who are like,
Iran is such a sweet place and they're so peaceful.
No, they're not. But irrelevant. It has nothing to do, in the sense, with the Ayatollah Khomeini and the mullahs. Well, if they obviously negotiated with Trump and did something else and said, hey, we acquiesce, yeah, obviously. But it doesn't. This is what it has to do with. When you start looking at where the world is heading in the next 5 to 10 years, a technological revolution is upon us. Whomever controls the world's resources, energy, and accessibility to maritime trade channels and ports of entry today is going to win the war of tomorrow, is going to either ensure that the war of tomorrow never happens or will dictate the winner of tomorrow's war. It's really that simple. Now, right now, when you start to look at the global chessboard, there are only 2 players on the technological evolution of this planet's future. The only 2 players. And I don't care. Like, well, Europe is doing some great things and don't care. It doesn't matter. When you start to look at manufacturing power, processing power, energy production, energy utilization, the defensive infrastructure to sustain all of this, the GDP of countries, there's only 2 countries that matter. That's China, the United States of America. So if you're looking at China and the United States of America, China has a problem. They have a weakness that the majority of the natural resources that we have here in the United States of America, you don't have in China. Number 1 is oil. There's no freaking oil in China. They have to import it. The 3 primary places China imports their oil is under Western sanctions through Russia, Venezuela, and Iran. And if you can control a country's energy intake, then you can control that country's technological progression. And that's the idea right now by Donald Trump. That's why I said it's not so much about the mullahs and Khomeini or Iran specifically. It's about who Iran does business with and who they deal with and where their oil is flowing to. This is why in Venezuela, it was all about the oil. Donald Trump sold out to the big oil companies. Get the fuck out of here. It's coming from people who don't understand baseline economics. They don't understand what is happening in this world right now. They'll sit there and they'll talk for hours about data centers, energy utilization, and how the United States is well behind the curve in the context of building out data centers and how are we going to power all this. But then when Donald Trump goes out there and secures Venezuelan oil for the United States of America, they're like, oh my God, what a tyrant. He's taking their oil. I knew it. Yeah, he took their oil. Why? Because if you want to ensure the safety, the security, and the prosperity of the United States of America in 5 to 10 years from now, you need the freaking oil. You need to control the oil. You need to withdraw that oil from China, and you need to bring it over to the United States of America. And if it comes over to the United States of America and it gets refined here and then gets sent to China, that's great. Because if China ever tried to wage war with the United States of America, Donald Trump just simply has to say, we're cutting off your oil. Simple as that. And if you have Iran and Venezuela off the map in the context of Chinese energy, that means that they only have one route to go through under Western sanctions. That is Russia. And Russia is a massive variable in this play. I've talked about this strategically. We know Putin wants to make a deal with the West. He wants sanctions lifted. He wants basically an alliance with the United States of America. He doesn't want to be a part of NATO. He wants to be a part of the United States of America in the context of an alliance. But he can't do that publicly right now. He can't go out there right now and tell China to screw off and say, hey, we're aligned with the United States of America. Well, why not? Well, number one is the only thing holding up Russia's economy is China. China and Iran are the primary two countries that Russia is bringing military supplies and money in from. Money from oil sales to China is what's fueling the war in Ukraine. And so Russia, it would be a suicide if they cut off ties right now with China. So they have to act that position. But I do believe that it's all an act, that it's all a play, that Putin is playing China under the level. This is why we saw a Russian naval submarine and Navy ship escorting this the Repill, a ghost ship operating outside of Venezuela with oil, Iranian ghost ship, and then the U.S. Special Forces show up and the ship and the submarine take off. Russia had no intention of protecting or defending the vessel. They're not going to get into a fighting match with the United States of America. It's just not going to happen. They're smarter than that. So right now, what we're witnessing in Iran was planned. And it was planned well over 2 years ago. How do we know that? Benjamin Netanyahu told us. And by the way, I don't like Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm not a fan of Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm not like, yeah. But it doesn't make me anti-Semitic. Jewish people are amazing. I'm not talking about the country of Israel. I'm talking about, I hate Benjamin Netanyahu. I think he's a tyrant. My perspective. But Donald Trump is working with him. Donald Trump controls him. And over 2 years ago, Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump collaborated and coordinated the takedown of Hezbollah, which, by the way, was probably one of the most craziest military operations, hands down, besides the one that took out Maduro, ever in the history of this planet. And basically, taking down Hezbollah the way they did limited Iran's retaliation during the 12-day war that happened in 2025 massively. Imagine if you still had Hezbollah, the head of the snake, 100% fully functional at the time of the 12-day war. Oh, Israel would have been invaded. So there's reasons for everything. Small little steps have been done systematically over the last 2 years. And right now we are in the end game. So after meeting with President Trump today, Marco Rubio, State Department head, is telling American citizens to immediately leave Iran as major anti-regime protests continue, and the talks of U.S. interdiction into Iran are coming about. Trump says Iranian leaders called him yesterday. They want to negotiate. A meeting is being set up, but we may have to act because of what's happening before the meeting. And so this is also key. Donald Trump is the epitome of power projection. So what does that mean? Donald Trump understands the power that he has. If he's going to go into a negotiation with somebody, whether it's a business deal, a real estate deal, it doesn't matter. It's always going to be the same. He's going to project his power prior to that meeting so that when that other group comes in, they're inferior to him in the negotiations. Does that make sense? Okay. So when Donald Trump says that they want to negotiate, a meeting is being set up, but we may have to act because of what's happening before the meeting, that is a massive hint that Donald Trump is saying that we're probably going to bomb the shit out of parts of parts of Iran prior to this meeting. That way, when we go into an already set up meeting, we are in a position of power to where they can capitulate or acquiesce. And I guarantee you that when Trump goes in there, if it's with Khamenei, the mullahs, or whatever it is, or the IRGC, that all he's going to tell them is leave. Leave Iran. Pack your bags, get the fuck out, go to Russia, go to China. We don't care. Leave. Why? Because it's the same thing that he told Maduro. And they're probably going to say, well, we need $500 million to do that. And he's going to go, no. He goes, it's either leave or we're dropping a bomb on your house. And they're going to smirk. And then he's going to send them a photo of their bunker, of where they're currently sitting. That's how Donald Trump operates, and that's the power projection he will utilize in that negotiation. And I guarantee you, by the time they come out of that, there'll probably be a deal. So Trump also said, because Iran came out this last week and threatened that if the U.S. strikes Iran, that they're going to strike Israel and U.S. bases throughout the Middle East. Iran said they would consider military and commercial bases as legitimate targets if struck. Trump responded, if they do that, we'll consider things targets that they wouldn't believe. We will hit them at levels they've never seen hit before. And then the reporter asked Donald Trump, do you think Iran would take this threat seriously? Trump said, wouldn't you say that they probably do at this point? What a stupid question. And they do. Iran understands that they can't win in a war against Trump and Israel. Iran understands that right now there's a color revolution and their country is being destabilized. In this position that Khamenei and the mullahs are in, they have two options: cut a deal with Donald Trump or get the hell out of Dodge. And the deal that's going to come from Donald Trump is get the hell out of Dodge. China is not going to come in and save them. Russia is not going to come in and save them. Right now, if you go back to my post last week on X, where I was talking about Iran specifically with the protests that are going on, let me see if I can pull it up, because it's really important to understand. One second. Let me see this. What? You got to remember certain words. There it is. I think that. Okay, there it is. So I posted this last week on X. Let me pull this over. Bring it over. Okay. So this was January 9th when I posted this. And I say here, damn thing won't drag over. Move over. Move over. Okay. We're just going to... Oh, there it is. Okay. From a strategic standpoint, the growth that is occurring right now in the protests in Iran, this is the tipping point before the precipice. Once the protests turn into a full-fledged revolution, another week or so, you will see Trump and Israel begin strikes on the regime. Guess what? We're there. We went from hundreds of people to thousands of people to tens of thousands of people to now some cities in Iran, hundreds of thousands of people, to where over 2,000 people have been shot and killed by the Iranian police and IRGC. So we are at that precipice moment to where if there is U.S. intervention or Israeli intervention right now in Iran, the mullahs are done. It's going to topple the government of Iran. There's nothing they can do. It's already past that point. So it's at that precipice. It's already past it. Right now, it is simply is Iran going to kill the majority of their people to get them off the streets? And if they do that, they're going to face consequences from the West by bombs dropping. They're going to negotiate with the West, which the West is just going to tell them to get the hell out of Dodge and go to Russia. And then you're going to have people like Reza Pahlavi come in. Or is the mullahs going to say this is a holy war and launch everything they have at Israel? Like, this is the three options that we have on the table right now. My thoughts is that you'll see some type of strategic strikes on military sites that are going to disable Iranian military, and then a negotiation. And the negotiation, most likely you're going to see the mullahs and Khamenei leave Iran, exile from Iran, and you're going to see a new government come in. Is Rumble still having problems? I know Rumble was having a lot of problems a little while ago. Just curious if Rumble is still having problems. Okay. So then we're hearing news today. U.S. officials tell Al Jazeera that the U.S. is planning for potential strikes in Iran, and it's nearly complete. American forces across the Middle East are on alert for any response from Tehran. Military posture has shifted to prepare for any contingency or retaliation. Now, do I think that Trump's going to do it in the next 24 hours? I think that it's possible. I think that we could see prior to any meeting with Iranian representatives, you're going to see it. So Mario Newall said this. He said, "This is significant. Trump just confirmed the U.S.'s objective is to overthrow the Iran supreme leader. And after what happened in Venezuela, the world should take this very seriously. The odds of Khamenei being disposed have gone up drastically. No military strikes needed, although still an option. All eyes now on China, Iran's largest trade partner, and essentially the regime's lifeline. China isn't going to do shit. China can't do shit. Now, if you go back to my conversation last week, I said that we're coming to the point where China has to do something. The reason being is because, well, you just cut off one of their lifelines with Venezuela. Now you're going after another primary lifeline, Iran, in the context of energy. China knows the game. So if China's about to lose their primary source of energy, and Russia is their second source of energy, and they know that now they've been funneled into a Russia channel, and Russia is a variable at play in this grand game, that's not a situation that they can go into. But what China doesn't realize is this is already checkmate. It's already checked. It's already done. But China could intervene. How could China intervene? What could be the variable that's thrown in to this mix of regime change soup right now? Is that China enacts their military, sends 100,000 troops into Iran. That China says, hey, there's a humanitarian crisis in Iran. They're shooting their own people. We don't agree with that, but we're allies with them. We're going to send police response forces into Iran to help them with crowd control and quiet down the rioters. And they're going to send Chinese military into Iran, 10, 20, 30,000 to help Iran. Now, why does that make a difference? Because most likely the Chinese military would be based out of Iranian military sites, as well as on Iranian streets. If the United States and Israel bomb Iran during that point in time, there's the danger of always killing Chinese military, which is obviously a no-no. So that would be one strategy I could actually see happening, because this is really like life or death for China as well right now. Now, the problem for China is we have a context of mutually assured economic destruction with China. Donald Trump simply has to start increasing tariffs like he did today, 25% increase in tariffs to anybody doing business with Iran. If he bumps that up to 200% for China, China's fucked. China has 100 days worth of oil, and that does not include civilian infrastructure. As in, if the United States and China went to war tomorrow, not over Taiwan, I mean direct conflict war tomorrow, China has 100 days worth of oil, period, down, hands down, nothing else, right? The U.S. Navy would embargo Russia, would embargo Iran. They would buy. So the grand military mind. If China waged war on the United States tomorrow, okay, 9,000 miles away, the first thing that the United States of America, Trump, would do is he would bomb the shit out of Iran's oil fields. He would embargo Taiwan. He would go out there and basically put Russia at bay. He would allow NATO to move in on Ukraine into the Russia side. China would only have 100 days worth of oil at that point, and this does not include civilian infrastructure to fight the war. Trump knows this. So at that point in time, it's a war of attrition. Now, China has a big problem. They don't have the strategic positioning to go across the world and fight a war. So everything would have to happen within their arena of Asia Pacific. Now, in the arena of Asia Pacific, you have massive amounts of U.S. pre-positioned military assets. In other words, China knows they would lose in this engagement. I mean, any simulation will tell you you're going to lose in this engagement. If you're fighting an overseas war versus the United States of America. Now, we're not talking about Taiwan. We're talking about direct conflict between the United States and China. China loses. And it loses because of the strategic resources that Donald Trump has already acquired, the positioning that he has already done in the context of accessibility to those resources, and the control over the maritime trade channels, Russia, and Venezuela and Iran. And like I said, all he would say is, NATO, you know what? You want your war? Go with the war with Russia, because that pulls out a massive strategic advantage for China, because now Russia is fighting Europe and NATO forces, but Russia also reduces the amount of outflow of oil to China because now they need it for their own war machine. So when we start to look at this, it is global checkmate. This is why I call this show the Trump World Order. It is global checkmate for these adversaries. It's just a matter of time until it all begins to occur. Now, in the sense of the in the sense of the Iranian coup, you all knew about this. And how did you know about this? Because in April 2025, I wrote The Silent Western Coup of Iran. It was the opening salvo against China. This is directly in my Substack. Right? You remember Iranian President Abraham Raisi's helicopter, that was May 19th, 2024, by the way, vanished in the mountains of East Azerbaijan in the province. He was killed by Iran. Why? They wanted to bring Project in, because Raisi was actually communicating back channels with the West because he wanted to overthrow the mullahs. Really complex political environment out there. But the proxy war is preparing the battlefield. This is a great read. If you haven't subscribed over in my Substack and checked out some of these articles, this one specifically, I highly recommend you do it. I don't have any ads to read tonight because we're not on Rumble Studio. So I'm just going to stick with my stuff. And if you guys want to help me out, right there, redpillproject.substack.com. redpillproject.substack.com. Actually, I got a new link that I wanted to share with you. I'm not advertising Rumble Wallet right now, but I have a Rumble Wallet. And if you guys wanted to go and help us out at our Rumble Wallet, I'm going to throw the link up on the screen. And this is one way that you can help support us with cryptocurrency, if that's something that you wanted to do, and get into the Rumble Wallet. And our Rumble Wallet right there is redpills.tv/Rumble Wallet. And it'll take you directly to the Red Pill Project's Rumble Wallet. So if you want to support us with cryptocurrency, it helps us, keeps us alive, keeps the lights on. We appreciate all the support over the years. But we are 100% funded by all of you guys and our sponsors. And when we don't have the Tucker Carlson sponsors or anything like that, but we have some great products that we put out on the show. But primarily, it's about you guys helping to support us. So either, you can go over on our Substack, subscribing over there on a premium subscription absolutely helps us. redpillproject.substack.com. You also get in on our weekly Q&As every Thursday. And then if you just want to send us some crypto and help us out there, redpills.tv/Rumble Wallet. All right. So you guys have known about the Iran coup. I went on with Clayton and Natalie Morris talking about this, and they didn't like what I had to say. I said that Trump is collaborating directly with Netanyahu to overthrow the Iranian regime. They're like, no, my God, why? He's controlled by Israel. I'm like, no, he's controlling Israel. He's utilizing them the way that they want to be used in the Middle East. The objective is peace and prosperity in the Middle East. This is why you're seeing Syria, which, by the way, was a color revolution 2 years ago, and they did a regime change in Syria. You don't hear this talked about much. This is how Assad was kicked out, and this is why you have billions of dollars of infrastructure being planned to be built out directly in Syria. This is why Trump and Kushner and all these guys went into Gaza and said, we're going to put a hotel there and, a beach over there. And why is that? Because when you start to build out Western infrastructure that costs billions upon billions of dollars of money, and you have large banks and financial institutions that are floating the loans to build out that infrastructure, terrorists are less likely to drop bombs on it. I shit you not. I mean, it's almost as if the terrorist organizations were getting direct commands from bankers. But when you start to westernize an area, when I say westernize, I mean build skyscrapers, build out massive infrastructure, build a whole industrial base. When you start to do this in a place, it's less likely that bombs are going to drop on it. It's less likely that people who've lived in poverty for 10, 20, 30 fucking years are going to want to take up terrorism anymore, because now they have $100,000 a year paying job and they got a badass, highly technologicalized city that is just built for them, and communities and new houses and new infrastructure, and everything is looking up. Bombs aren't going to drop in those neighborhoods. So, but what is one of the main reasons why we got to get rid of the Khamenei regime? We got to get rid of the mullahs. We got to get rid of radical Islam. Listen to this. This is pretty eye-opening because it's probably something you haven't heard yet.
You and I agree Jeffrey Epstein was evil. Wall-to-wall coverage. Endless outrage, right? Where is the outrage from the woke mob when it's in Iran? In Iran, there are documented videos, endless, coming out of little girls getting intimidated, abused, and terrorized by these animals, these beasts tied to Ali Khamenei. Clerics protected by this power. There's no courts, no justice, no protection for these girls. Look at their face. They're scared. They know no one's coming to help them. And if you speak up in Iran, you disappear. Now tell me something. Where are the woke leftists? Where is Greta? Where are the loud feminists? Where are the protests? Where are the hashtags? Where's the marches? Where's the college campuses? Gone, silent, missing. And if you're a dad with a daughter, ask yourself one thing. If this was your child, would silence be acceptable? Because this crime isn't just what's happening. It's who chooses to look away. Shame on you, BBC. Shame on you, New York Times. Shame on you, CNN, for not standing up for the women and the girls in Iran.
100%, brother. I mean, Mohammed himself married a 9-year-old. And I don't care. Well, you know, she was of age. She was... no. Sorry. There's some sick people out there. And you know what? Donald Trump is going through and he's eradicating them. More power to him. Russia today launched over 20-plus ballistic missiles at Ukraine. Multiple strikes hit Kyiv as drone swarms target enemy infrastructure. We talked about this, that I didn't necessarily know the plan, but I could understand that Donald Trump is not very happy with Europe and is not playing with Europe anymore. He's basically called Europe not illegitimate, but you are not a part of the future of the United States of America. That we're no longer going to fight your wars. We no longer give a shit about your economics because you don't have any. Your GDP is freaking minuscule in comparison. In other words, he was saying that they're irrelevant for the next 5 to 10 years of future progression. Excuse me. Europe doesn't like this. But he is now utilizing Europe as a pawn in a larger scale game. So when we started to look at Russia and NATO's progression towards Russia and the imminent war that we thought was coming, I was saying that, hey, look, Trump's going to move in. He's going to try to do a ceasefire. Most likely that's going to fall through. But then that leaves Vladimir Putin with only 2 options. Those options are seize Odessa, which is the warm water port into the Black Sea, which is a strategic accessibility shipping point for all of Europe and waterway access for grain and oil and everything else, and kill Zelensky, take out Zelensky. And I think that this is what he's doing. So why are they hitting Kyiv over and over with ballistic missiles, non-nuclear ballistic missiles? What they're doing is they are, think about it of like, if you're a military and you want to get very, very strategic, right? So if you knew one of your missiles was going to be aimed at the presidential palace while the president was in the presidential palace in Ukraine. So what you do is over a month time frame, you send ballistic missiles in and you hit all different types of places, showing no strategic or precision necessary. That way, when alarms begin to ring, nobody's running the bunkers, or, you know, there's not a need of necessity that, hey, we have to get out of the way right now. Oh, Putin's just taking out our electric grid again. And then all of a sudden, boom, hypersonic missile hits the presidential palace, kills Zelensky. That's what you're going to see. I would say probably in the next 30 days. We're coming into it. Why? Because Odessa, to take Odessa, Putin has to wait till about springtime just because of the weather. And I think that, February, March timeframe is when he's going to take Odessa. And then it's endgame for Europe at that point in time. There's nothing they can do. If they came after Putin, he has Odessa to actually negotiate with. Greenland. Fucking Greenland. Secretary of State Marco Rubio headed into meetings today with Denmark and Greenland. President Trump is dead serious about bringing Greenland under the American flag. It's going to happen. After the meeting, the Prime Minister of Greenland's office released a statement. The United States has once again reiterated its desire to take over Greenland. This is something the government coalition in Greenland cannot accept under any circumstance. Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark. As a part of the realm, Greenland is a member of NATO, and the defense of Greenland must therefore be ensured through NATO. This can get interesting. I'm gonna just throw this out there for you. Greenland's only defense of how they're not going to do a deal with Donald Trump is that they are a territory under the Kingdom of Denmark. Now, the Kingdom of Denmark I want to bring up a map. Sorry. I want to bring up a map of this real quick. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Come on. Come on. Oh, that's the one right there. Oh, come on. It's so small. I was trying to bring this image up because it's actually... See if this one works. There we go. Okay, we can use this one. This is the Kingdom of Denmark, not the big red one, the small little red one. You see this little red part right here? That part right there, that small little red piece, that's Denmark. This is Greenland. Denmark is ruled by a monarchy. How much you want to bet? Oh, by the way, they have 80,000 in their military. You want to know an easy solution for Donald Trump to take Greenland? Take Denmark. I'm not shitting you. I guarantee you he's going to say something like this. The best way to take Greenland right now, if Greenland does not want to do business with the United States of America, is to take Denmark. You heard it here first. Just saying. He's going to say, well, if that's the way they want to play, then we'll just go take Denmark. Now, what does that do? Well, Denmark's a NATO nation. He doesn't give a shit. If you go back last week, you have Europe yelling and screaming that Donald Trump and his Trump administration don't care about international order or international laws. Damn right they don't. The international order and international laws are an illusion. Firstly, you as an American citizen, when you hear international law, what does that mean? It means absolutely dick to you. It means nothing. It has no jurisdictional authority over you. We're a sovereign fucking nation. No international power has any authority over us whatsoever. See, international doctrine, international laws, these were created by the Chatham House, by the Club of Rome, by the Trilateral Commission, these other think tanks around the world, the World Economic Forum. This is the infrastructure that they created to expand the British Empire through regulation and policy and law. They created this fictitious entity known as international law, of which they are the determiner of right and wrong. And Donald Trump basically said, fuck your system. We don't care. So when Denmark's going to come out there and say, but we're a NATO member. And Trump's like, we don't need NATO. We don't care. We want Greenland. We're either going to invade you or give us Greenland. It's really going to come down to that. But why is Greenland so freaking important? You really have to look at a different type of map to understand why Greenland's so important. Now, this is Greenland right here. Now, by the way, why is Canada so important? Remember, Trump, Canada is going to be the 51st state. Well, why? Because of this area right here. If you go, and I know you can't see my pointer, but if you look at Alaska and you just go right across this map, northern Canada into Greenland. That's what Trump wants. He wants that northern Canada region that's rich in uranium, oil, and rare earth minerals and metals, as well as in Greenland. He wants that. But the strategy is about control of the Arctic, which is massive accessibility for trade routes. But there's a bigger reason at play here, guys. There's something at play that nobody's even talking about. I've mentioned it a few times. Under the big, beautiful bill, Donald Trump secured, I think, over $500 billion to build out the Golden Dome. A space-based surveillance weapons ISR platform that will utilize satellite space-based weapons to keep the United States safe. In order to do something like that, you have to have a lot of geostationary satellites. Guess where the best place to have those geostationary satellites is? In the Northern Hemisphere, in and around the North Pole. Well, in order to have something like that, you have to have monitoring stations all around the world, right? You have to be able to monitor space all around the world in various different places. Now, isn't it interesting that in order to do strategic space launches, that you want to be as close to the equator as possible? Like, let's say Venezuela or the Democratic Republic of the Congo or Malaysia. Just so happens that we just removed Maduro from Venezuela, and now Trump is the interim president in Venezuela. That Trump brought peace between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and he brought peace between Malaysia and I think it was Indonesia in the war that they were fomenting. Sounds like great places for spaceports controlled by the United States of America. Or monitoring stations for the Golden Dome. You're going to see this rolled out relatively soon. In order for the Golden Dome to be successful, you have to have control of various parts of the planet. Equatorial regions and the Arctic Circle. Those are the two most strategic points. You heard it here first. You're going to hear it here soon. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Very soon we'll have the world's leading AI models on every unclassified and classified network throughout our department, from the back offices of the Pentagon, the tactical edge of the front lines. AI is going to lead the world in this. Pete Hegseth, America is taking control of space. He says the U.S. is done playing defense in space and is building a fast, American-made satellite force to dominate anywhere, anytime. Under Trump, the United States is deadly serious about commanding the ultimate high ground of space. The larger, more modern, and more capable constellations of American satellites launched by American rockets will provide an undeniable deterrent. You are the engine of the new arsenal of freedom. America can and will, if necessary, project its will anywhere, anytime, without question. You have mastered the art of small, the fast, and the responsive. It's no wonder why our Electron rocket has been a success. And this is him talking at SpaceX. So Elon had a lot to say there as well. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go over the Elon stuff. We can save some of this for tomorrow. And I'm just going through. We're fine. We can do a lot of this tomorrow. A lot of the Minnesota stuff I wanted to go over, but we're not necessarily going to go over that tonight. And then let me see, because we got time here. I gotta get off here. You got the scroll bar right there. It's all of our sponsors. It's ways to support us. I put the Rumble wallet in there as well. Bitcoin, Ethereum. You have Tethered Gold, anything. And you can, so pretty cool is you can send Tethered Gold, which is real redeemable gold, directly to influencers now. So boom, right there, Rumble wallet. And then our website, our Substack, if you guys want to check that out. Guys, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And man, this is a mouthful. Tomorrow, doubleheader. We have the regular night tomorrow, be on at 8:30 Eastern time. And then afterwards into DEFCON 0 with Alpha Warrior. It's going to be a one hell of a show because I think tomorrow is going to be a very, very hot day. So pay attention to that. And well, shit, I think that's it for tonight. I had a whole bunch more to go through, but we're going to have to wait. I can either play one of two videos right now. I can play the normal video that I do while we're ending. I'm going to play this cutesy video. This is cool. I found this on X, and it was one of the cutest damn things I've ever seen. And it just makes me proud to be a human being watching these types of things because, I don't know, we're creative and we respect life and love life. So I'm going to leave you guys with this. Much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Hit that like button. Share. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Good night.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this